Good news, everyone. The Amazing Atheist is breaking ties with Candid, and this means he's allowed to talk about me now. While he was still trying to make money from them, he couldn't do this. As the CEO told me, people were emailing Candid about wanting to do a counter video, and every time they asked them not to be harsh or to not do anything. On the same day, back in October, the Amazing Atheist confirmed that yes, he was, in fact, obeying the CEO's orders regarding his content. TJ Kirk has no editorial integrity. Not because he takes sponsorship deals, but because he obeys the people who give him sponsorship deals regarding his content outside of the ads. It's that simple. When he wants money from a sponsor, he obeys them, even beyond the ads themselves. When he doesn't, he's able to say what he wants to say. That is what not having editorial integrity is. With that out of the way, this is going to be a lovely, fun reaction to the video by this man who's publicly claimed he wants me to die because I criticized Candid. I'm sure it will be very honest.
For far too long, I've stayed relatively silent on the matter of the YouTuber Harmful Opinions.
Yep, because as we know, you were told to by the CEO of a company you were hoping to suck the $1 million titty of. If you'd gone ahead and done it, you'd risk them cutting you off. Now that you're cutting them off of you, it's fine to do it.
Who I will refer to as Harmless Exaggerations.
Whoa!
And his crusade against the social media app Candid, which I helped to promote.
Crusade? I'm just a guy in a bedroom. Stop being so paranoid and hyperbolic.
And anyone who's familiar with Harmless Exaggerations' content knows that he's a bit obsessed with Candid. He's made at least 8 videos on the subject.
So yeah, less than 2% of my videos are about it. At least before someone broke into my account and deleted my channel. David Pacman's made at least a dozen videos about it. Where's your video about him and his obsession? Is it okay for him because he's getting paid to make those videos? Well, I'm getting paid to make my videos. If it was advertising, Dosh, would that make it okay to do my videos? Is it not okay for me to do it because it's fan or crowdfunding and merch, as opposed to a corporation paying me directly to make an ad? I have to make money too. Why do you have such a problem with that?
And participated in several Google Hangouts discussing it as well.
Probably less than 0.5% of the time I've spent streaming. For over a year now, I've streamed from between 6 and 9 hours a week. The amount of time I've spent on streams talking about Candid is absolutely minuscule. And the vast majority of my time is not spent on the internet, or doing any kind of harmful opinions-y stuff.
I didn't address it before because there are always folks like Harmless who want to make every molehill into fucking Mount Everest.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm just a guy in his bedroom who does YouTube as a hobby, tries to make a little bit of money on the side with it. And you've made this hour-long video dealing with me. You're supposed to be a professional. What the fuck are you doing?
And I assumed his shelf life would be pretty short, but he's proven himself to have staying power, so I think he should be addressed. The argument Harmless puts forth in regards to shills like me is similar, I think, to the sentiments of Bill Hicks in this clip.
It's not really, but let's listen to the clip.
Here's the deal, folks. You do a commercial, you're off the artistic roll call forever. End of story, okay? You're another corporate fucking shill. You're another whore at the capitalist gangbang. And if you do a commercial, there's a price on your head. Everything you say is suspect, and every word that comes out of your mouth is now like a turd falling into my drink.
Nah, that's not my perspective. My point is that applies depending on the particular circumstances. What have you signed? What is the company? What has your behavior been? For example, I am an advertiser, and I sponsor YouTubers' content. The most recent example being a lovely lady who goes by Perception Check.
The following message is brought to you by Harmful Opinions.
I sponsored her, I paid her, and the only conditions were she had to mention me in a video, and she had to disclose clearly in her video and in her description that it is sponsored content. No NDA, no non-disparagement clause. She's allowed to tell everyone anything I've said to her about the deal. If she talks about me in future, I think she should make it clear that I've paid her before, but besides that, she's not compromised in my eyes. Although I am, of course, biased as someone who's taken out an ad with her. An ad I love, it's fucking hilarious, you should check it out.
But personally, I've always been a bigger fan of George Carlin, whose message on advertising is just a little different.
This next thing is about advertising. And by the way, if you should have any cognitive dissonance about the fact that I do commercials for 10, 10, 220 and still attack advertising up here, well, you're just going to have to figure that shit out on your own, okay? Now,
That's a bit closer to me, or how I view other people, because I personally don't take sponsorships. Ads aren't the problem, sponsorship isn't the problem. It's the specifics.
I'll go one step further than George went. I won't make you figure it out on your own. The answer to why he attacked advertising and understood the inherent deceit of advertising, and yet still did commercials, is actually very simple. It's so simple that every one of you watching this already knows what it is. He was forced by the reptilians. Or it might have just been, a matter of money.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you so far, dude. You seem to be disagreeing with yourself, though. You see, to clarify the Amazing Atheist's position on ads, I asked him some questions. The last question I asked him was, creators shouldn't criticize other creators for ads, and shouldn't criticize their ads. Is that right? Ballpark? TJ said, it's a huge oversimplification, but essentially. He does not agree with George Carlin. He is against criticism of advertising, unless he's changed his opinion in the last couple days.
And when money's involved, some people think that all objectivity just flies right out the fucking window.
I don't. I think you're certainly less trustworthy, though. And again, it depends on what you've signed, and you've got to judge it based on how they're behaving at the same time as receiving money. And if they stop getting money and their behavior changes, that's really, really suspicious.
I've heard so many times from people that I was bought and paid for by Candid, that Candid had me on a tight leash. Sorry, but that's not really what Candid bought from me. What they bought was a series of 2-minute advertisements on my channel for which I was fairly compensated. But I want it known here and now that I have written to Bindu Reddy, the CEO of Candid, and I've told her that I will not promote Candid in the future. This is despite the fact that we were in talks to do more ads. The reason I gave her is that while I do like the app, the messaging that was given to me on how to promote it, in retrospect, seems to be, in my opinion, deceptive. It does not, in my eyes, accurately describe the application. I pride myself on this channel on speaking the truth as I see it. And while I was paid to promote the Candid app, I was not agreeing at that time to say things that were deceptive, which I now feel is exactly what happened.
Absolutely agree with you there.
Now, my first Candid ad, actually, I think is pretty accurate. I think it highlights the anonymous aspects of Candid, like the fact that you have no set screen name, so you don't have to worry about family and friends taking you to task for opinions that you put online. That was an honest sales pitch.
Actually, in terms of being an honest sales pitch, your first ad was the very worst. The objectively worst example. You did not follow FTC regulations. Although it looks very much like an ad, at no point in the video do you explicitly disclose that you were paid or that it is a sponsored video, and there's no explicit disclosure in the description either. If a video is an ad, it should be explicitly obvious it's an ad. In fact, that is the law. This is why when I sponsor YouTubers, I make sure that they disclose very well. Here's an example, again, of one of my ads.
The following message is brought to you by Harmful Opinions.
Disclosure is both in the audio and on screen at the very start of the video. She also disclosed in the description, and the thumbnail even includes a disclosure. I insist on clear disclosure because I don't want anyone to be tricked.
But the second ad that they had me do was saying that Candid is a free speech platform that is going to be more friendly towards free expression than Twitter or Google or Facebook and all of those. And that simply, I don't think is true.
Then why'd you say it? The CEO of Candid has said you came up with that.
It's an amazing atheist, used his poetic justice or poetic license to some extent and used the words free speech.
Can you prove that they told you to say it was free speech? Because they're saying they did not tell you to do that.
I don't think Candid is any worse.
I can say things on Twitter and YouTube and whatnot that I can't on Candid without it being hidden. And I don't think any of the other websites say this to people. Sure, Twitter's now implementing stuff more similar to Candid, but that's after you did your ad.
Than any of those sites when it comes to free speech issues, and it might even be a little better. But ultimately, it's about the same. But just because I've formally severed my ties with Candid,
I don't believe that's true. I think you signed their basic contract that includes a 2-year non-disparagement clause and a non-disclosure agreement regarding the content of the contract. And if that's true, I consider the claim that you've severed ties to be a lie, because you still have contractual obligations. You could show me your contract, though, unless you have signed those things, and you're not allowed to.
doesn't mean I don't have criticisms of Harmless Exaggerations and his practices.
My practices! Ooh, this should be interesting.
So let's get into those. Who is this floating meatwad impersonator? And what is his grievance with Candid? And what is his grievance with me? We have to answer that before proceeding.
Let's see if you're accurate.
So a number of months ago, many YouTubers like myself began to advertise a new social media app called Candid.
Yep.
And for the members of the skeptic community on YouTube, we were given a sales pitch by Candid wherein we were told to emphasize the free speech and anonymity elements of the app. I don't think I can divulge how much money I made from these spots due to contractual reasons.
Right, so you haven't severed your ties to Candid. You're still bound by their contract. If you're going to talk about them, right, if you're going to defend yourself regarding what you've done with them, you really need to tell people what your contractual obligations are. Otherwise, everything you're saying is suspect. Right? Do you understand? That's my problem. It's not that you do advertising at all, it's that we're not aware of the conditions. But we do know that people have been signing things that stops them from saying certain things. Ahmed Skeptic, another person who signed a contract with Candid, has stated publicly that he cannot make his video that would seem negative because his contract forbids it. Did you sign a similar thing, TJ? Is that why you're still saying you think Candid's good, maybe even better than these other websites? Can you show it to us? If not, why the fuck should anyone trust anything you're saying? I'm not going to dismiss arguments on the back of that, but when it comes to what you might be omitting, when it comes to you saying what your opinion is, can't trust any of that because of what you may or may not have signed. Who knows? Do you understand? The problem is not ads or sponsors, it's this in particular.
But suffice to say, it was substantive. Now, Candid was far from the first time on my channel that I shilled something on camera. So I completely expected there to be a backlash, because there's always a backlash when you're a YouTuber and you...
The ads I've paid YouTubers to make haven't seemed to be getting any backlash, really. Maybe it's just you.
Openly shill a product. Mostly due, I think, to the reasons outlined by the great Mr. Hicks. We can play that clip again. It's Bill Hicks. He's funny.
I've cut out the Bill Hicks clip. It's the same one as earlier.
But with Candid, at first, there was almost no backlash. Tons of people told me they spent all night on it. They said it was great. They said they loved it. And I thought to myself, wow, people actually really like this product. There's not going to be a backlash this time. And that, at the time, I was relieved. Like, oh, cool. You know, I got to make this money. I got to promote this product, and the people actually like the product. So, wow.
Mate, you've said yourself it was deceptively advertised. Of course there's going to be a fucking massive backlash once people realize what's happened.
But then, Harmless Exaggerations put out his first Candid video. And I say first because ever since then, he's been pretty much... on a non-stop crusade against this app and anyone foolish enough to support it, to the point where he actually told me point blank in conversation that anyone who even supports the app on any level, is on his shit list. So, holy shit. What did this fucking app do?
They offered a reward for information on me, and the CEO told my mother that she was receiving tips about her account. That's what I told you is the reason I'd forever fuck with this company and anyone supporting them by endorsing them. And TJ, who still has contractual obligations to Candid, defended them. Let's see if he gives the real reason I said people who support this company and this company are my enemies.
Well, Harmless Exaggerations took issue with the fact that while Candid was pushing itself as a free speech app on YouTube...
No, of course not.
They were actually working on a new AI that could intelligently sort through comments and divide people into categories and create a complex system of filters that basically segregated people of certain personality types, and it kept them from intermingling.
Does it? I didn't know about that part of it. Thanks for telling me. Or are you saying I'm saying that? because I don't think I did. I knew it labeled people and analyzed what you're saying and kept track of what you're doing. And I know one of their advisors, Yishan Wong, an ex-Reddit CEO, has been writing stuff about how to manipulate behavior through how you design your platforms. But I didn't know about the segregation thing, beyond the hater thing he's about to talk about.
So for instance, if you were branded as a hater, you might be shadow banned from large portions of the platform. So what Harmless Exaggerations was basically saying was, this platform claims to be a free speech platform, but it's really not. It's being used as a testing ground for a new censorship AI.
It is, and they're constantly updating it. For example, here's Candid's CEO, back in February, talking about how Candid's AI will be soon detecting low-quality posts and recommending that you post something more interesting. So the AI is learning what a quality post is. That's basically the test. They're trying to develop this thing that can recognize how well posts get engagement. And something more, but we'll come to that later. It actually gives your posts a rating like this. And if your post is too low quality, it will tell you that you fucking suck. It will straight up tell you that your post isn't interesting enough and that you have to give it more substance. The AI will now also tell you it's moving your posts around. Somewhat funnily, I've had people coming to me and complaining that on Candid they make a post, it gets moved to a group where people are trading nudes, and because the AI's moved their post, they get sent messages of, like, stuff they don't want. It's pretty bad, man.
Now, I don't know about you, but if I were in a situation where I just downloaded this new app because it's supposed to be a free speech platform, and then it comes to light that it's not really as free speech oriented as the advertising claimed, I would either just delete that app and say, oh well, guess that's not really what I thought it was. Or I'd say, well, it was advertised deceptively, but I still like it, so I'm going to keep using it. And either of those reactions seem totally sane and totally sensible to me. But that wasn't what happened. Instead, Harmless Exaggerations and his followers started portraying Candid not just as an app that wasn't as free speech oriented as it claimed, and instead started saying that it was an actual threat to freedom of speech.
Because people like you have signed contracts with this company that does the shit all the other platforms do, so you're not going to be able to fight it on other platforms as well as you otherwise could, because you've endorsed this thing and signed this fucking contract. There is what's called a conflict of interest there.
Candid's AI, which was designed to moderate Candid, was suddenly being portrayed as if it were Skynet or HAL.
You see, if you use Candid, you are being used as a guinea pig in a censorship AI experiment. Candid, becandid.com, is one of my greatest sci-fi nightmares come to life. I can't prove this, but I have a feeling a bunch of YouTubers have traded your trust for cash so that you'll become a little rat in a wheel, helping their AI get better.
I can't prove this, but I have a feeling.
I can't prove that YouTubers did that deliberately. That's all I can't prove. I can prove that you're being used basically for what I'd call an experiment. Here's the CEO of Candid, Bindu Reddy, explaining how the users of Candid are being used to develop a censorship AI.
The way the AI really works is it has what we call an NLP deep learning algorithm, and it learns over time. So typically, what it's going to look for is things which are, what I would call extremely objectionable. I mean, and some of the examples in some of the videos we've seen, I've actually highlighted some of those examples, and those are the things that it's going to highlight.
Sorry to butt in, but objectionable to who?
Yes, objectionable to whom is a really good question that people have asked. And the way we basically, have gone around doing this is we've trained the AI with a bunch of data. And we've said this data is what we call objectionable. And when we say we're basically looking at a bunch of things which have been reported by a diverse set of Candid users. These are not like by one user or two users. We're looking at, what's been reported by, say, 7 or 8 different users. And they're different users. They have different profiles and such on Candid.
If you use Candid, you are a rat in a wheel for their little experiment to make this bot the way they want it to be. They teach the bot by looking at what you're saying and how it's being reported and who it's being reported by and how people are reacting to it, and defining what it does based on that. This is from the mouth of the CEO of Candid. I don't like that. She said to Teal Deer in a phone call he told me about that they're waiting for 2 years or thereabouts for it to develop based on that well enough, and that's when how they're going to monetize it is going to kick in once the bot has been suitably developed and they have enough of a user base, if things go well. Personally, I fucking hate that idea. Maybe you don't, but you know what I say. It's just my opinion.
Now, in a broader sense, are moderation AIs a threat to freedom of speech? I think an argument could certainly be made that they are. But YouTube already uses such AIs, Facebook uses them, Twitter uses them. All of these major social media platforms are constantly developing these technologies. And in fairness to Harmless Exaggerations, he has made videos attacking AIs from these large companies. But compared to his laser focus on Candid, he barely mentions them. Don't even think he's ever mentioned Twitter or Facebook.
All the time! Far more videos about them than about Candid. I've covered them for years, since before Candid existed. Look at my video called Hate Speech Spell Checker from 2015. Extremely similar idea to what Candid does, and I was saying the same shit about that. Even with my account being hacked and deleted and all my videos gone, and you have to search for them on archive channels, there's already a video about Twitter on this channel. You're either trying to deceive your audience or have genuinely done no research whatsoever.
Maybe he has.
There are only 13 videos on this channel. One of them, which is about Twitter, has the fucking Twitter logo in a cage on it. The Google gag is about an AI Google is developing and using on various websites. Censored Opinions covers a tool on YouTube that YouTubers can use to censor their audience. My Internet Nightmare is about various social media sites and their filtering. You're saying things without even taking the tiniest glance. Maybe I have talked about Twitter. Who could possibly tell with my huge list of 13 videos? Fucking hell.
Now let me just ask you a simple question. Whose moderation AIs pose a bigger threat to freedom of speech? Facebook's, Google's, Twitter's, or Candid's? I think anyone would have to say that Candid ranks lowest in the order of concern, for the simple reason that they only have a small percentage of the social media market share in comparison to the social media and search engine giants I just listed.
So what would make it more of a threat? Having more people on it. How do they get more people on it? You doing ads. Standardless new media shills, not just anyone who takes ads, are the threat. People who will promote this kind of stuff. People who are happy to create appearances of impropriety, to create conflicts of interest that lower their ability to fight these other larger platforms because they've already endorsed another platform that does the same thing.
So what started off for me as one of my least contentious advertising spots became the most controversial one ever.
Yeah, deceptive advertising pisses people off.
So controversial that I'm still having to deal with the fallout months and months later.
Poor baby. Wipe up your tears with those wads of cash.
Put yourself in my shoes for a minute. I know a lot of you aren't too big on empathy, but just give it a shot. You're me. I know it's scary. You own a big YouTube channel and you're kind of controversial. So you don't get much in the way of advertisers.
Bollocks. Try using FameBit.
But one day, someone comes to you and says, here's a huge amount of money. Advertise my social media app. It's a big free speech app. All your fans will love it.
Again, mate, the CEOs said you came up with the free speech idea.
We do want to give people creative control. We do want to give Bering creative control. We want to, we want to have him, describe the app. Use the app, I'm sure we say that. Please use the app, check it out, and describe it in your own words. And a lot of people who are attracted to the free speech aspects of the app, the fact that you can say things like, I'm anti-SJW, or I'm like, this is what I feel about BLM. Those are the people who have said it's a free speech app.
She's saying that description of it is down to you and the other advertisers, not them.
And you take the deal because the money's good, and you looked at the app and it looks good, and you've worked with this company before and they've always treated you well. You think you've got a new successful partnership that's actually willing to invest in you and your content, and the content of your usually neglected contemporaries. You're going to be making a lot of new income from this partnership. And then out of nowhere, there's this angry mob who thinks that the company you advertised for is pure evil. It's not an exaggeration, by the way. In Harmful Opinions videos, he describes Candid as evil.
What the fuck? Have you ever seen one of my videos? Do you know where my name comes from and why I talk the way I do?
They're evil and you're just their whore. That's what you are.
You've got a similar style, mate. You've called someone who just wanted to do a comic, make some money, have a deal and partnership with everyday feminism totally insane! How can you possibly bitch about me saying the word evil? Part of the reason I talk the way I do is because I watched you as a teenager. Mate, I am you reaping what you've sown.
And I thought to myself about Harmless, I'm like, who is this guy? Turning the internal moderation features of this app into this widespread bane on free speech. Why is he acting like this relatively obscure social media platform is basically the devil of the internet?
Was I? Am I? Here's what I said in that first video he played a clip from. Here's the ending point, what I was trying to get across in that video. You ready? It's really crazy. Maybe it's a fun app to use, maybe it's well put together, or whatever, maybe you enjoy it. Please think twice, and if you are going to be candid, do be careful too. But, as usual, gonna use this new thing on the internet, be careful. You realize, right, as well, that that's where it would have ended. I would have never talked about it again if the response from the people paid by Candid wasn't so hilarious. Like this by Mundane Matt, who originally had poor disclosure on his ad. This riled the fuck out of people. You should be angry at him. He kicked a wasp nest. You think it was just my videos? Oh no, buddy. And then Ahmed Skeptic kicked it again. You and the other advertisers are why it continues to go. I am just a teeny tiny YouTube channel. Nowhere near the subscribers of any of you guys, just in my bedroom doing this as a hobby. That makes me a bit of extra money on the side. You guys need to take some responsibility. I don't have the influence you do. You need to realize that you made most of this happen. So if you don't like that it's happened, you need to think about what you're doing, not really what I'm doing. I'll give you a hand. Try not posting an ad the day after the US election when you comment on political events. You dumb shit. Of course people are going to be pissed off. Right there, you've made thousands and thousands of people angry about Candid ads.
Why has he made so many videos on this issue?
Because it's what I cover, and people keep responding to me.
Well, maybe he saw a bunch of skeptic YouTube channels pushing Candid, and he thought, I can cast Candid as the worst villain ever to exist, and cast all the people who advertised for them as whores at the capitalist gangbang, a la Bill Hicks, all while simultaneously casting myself as a noble truth seeker who out-skepticked the skeptic community.
Sorry, wait, I'm the one being accused of paranoia and conspiratorial thinking?
And if any of the people I attack come after me, there's a tailor-made response. Who are you going to believe? Me, Harmless Opinions, who's just concerned with the truth? Or the amazing atheist, who's just a whore on Candid's fucking payroll?
That's actually a good question, because I was talking to Bering and he mentioned that Candid's marketer came to him and asked him about doing a counter video for them.
And that's exactly how he's dealt with any pushback on his agenda. He calls people whores.
Yeah, I called you a whore because you were selling me a picture of your tits. To me, that's pretty whore-like. Is it not? That's not my response to criticism or anything. That's my commentary on you selling me a picture of your breasts.
Or he calls them the sycophants of whores.
No, I don't.
Meanwhile, his own sycophants browbeat those around them into conformity.
But you do. You do what you're saying I do, but I don't. I don't think the people who disagree with me are sycophants of whores. I respect the people who disagree with me, especially the ones who are bored, because, you know, I'm not a pro YouTuber, I just talk about what I feel like talking about. Sometimes that means I cover the same topic a few times. But if you disagree with him, he thinks you're my sycophant. Right, okay.
3 times now, fans of his have told me to back down from him and stated that he is God.
Do you want to know who else said that? The CEO of Candid.
Harmful Opinions is God. Harmful Opinions is God. Harmful Opinions is God. Harmful Opinions is God.
It's becoming clearer and clearer that you have no idea what you're talking about.
God. Well, I don't believe in God. I've also heard numerous people claim that he's the greatest YouTuber of all time, when clearly I am. Now, if those aren't sycophants, I don't know who is.
Again.
Harmful opinions is God. Harmful opinions is God. Harmful opinions is God.
That's a wild conspiracy theory. People saying I'm God are my sycophants. The CEO of Candid is a sycophant. Does she just want a date?
Harmless even told me in a direct conversation, and I quote, "If I have the opportunity to fuck with anyone supporting this company in any way, I will." That's the mentality, folks, of someone who is, how do I say this, completely batshit fucking insane.
CEO of a company upsets my mother, tells her that she's been receiving anonymous tips about her account. Now, I don't believe in online community cohesion or creator solidarity, as the Amazing Atheist calls it, but I sure as fuck do believe in family. So, you fuck with my mom, even if you don't agree that it's bad or anything and you defend it like the Amazing Atheist did. I fuck with you. You'd better believe you're gonna get trolled. You'd better believe any opportunity that arises for me to mess with you, I'm gonna take it, because it's very entertaining for me.
For his arguments about Candid to work, you have to buy into the idea that Candid is not just an obscure social media app that engaged in a dishonest marketing campaign. You have to buy into the narrative that Candid is an active enemy to the very principle of freedom of speech and is working diligently to undermine it at every turn.
No, you don't. I don't believe that.
You have to believe that the AI Candid is developing is going to put an end to internet freedom as we know it, and that the implications of what Candid does are super far-reaching in scope.
Nope. You don't. For example, I, the originator of this terror, this harassment campaign against skeptics, whatever they're calling it, I don't believe that.
And if any of that is even remotely true, I'd just like to ask, where's the evidence?
I'm happy to provide evidence for the things I believe, and I did earlier. But why would I provide evidence for these things that I don't believe? I think this is called a straw man.
Where is it? Harmless has made tons of videos about Candid, and I've watched most of them at this point. And as far as I can see, he's yet to provide a single solitary shred of evidence that his narrative is true.
You don't seem to know what my so-called narrative is. I've demonstrated repeatedly that the bot's already learned bias, for example. I think the people who have shilled it, and I think their reaction to criticism has been absurd. The kind of behavior I've been criticizing for years. I think the responses to me have been really, really funny, so I keep going. And I think the threat is that the people who are advertising it are the people who I'd expect to fight the kind of thing that Candid's doing. And now they've endorsed something that's doing it, I think it hurts trust in them fighting it elsewhere. Just my opinion on some things I found online, like I always do. I think the videos were much milder than my other ones, actually. I did include a conspiracy theory in one or two of my videos, but I also said, this is a conspiracy theory, this is for the tinfoilers. I personally don't think it's true, as I presented it in the video itself, for entertainment purposes. And to continue winding up the CEO who I was arguing with on social media, she ended up calling me God in a live stream, so I think I did a good job. I don't think you can really fault me there.
His entire argument against Candid is based on a premise that he can't even prove.
I can't prove this, but I have a feeling that sentence isn't talking about Candid. I can't prove this, but I have a feeling a bunch of YouTubers have traded your trust for cash, and I can't. It's impossible. I can't read your mind. I can't get into your thoughts and prove that you knew what you were doing, that you deliberately didn't mention the bot, that you deliberately withheld it to make it seem nicer to your audience. That's what I can't prove. What I can prove is that there's a bot, that they're developing it, that they're using the people who use the app to develop the bot. All of that stuff, as I've shown earlier. That's true. And I hate that shit. I especially hate people being sent to help them develop this shit. People who watch videos of people who they trust to be free speechy, you know, and all that stuff, sending them to help them develop this bot and not letting them know. Other websites, bigger ones, it's well known that they do all this kind of stuff. This obscure app, it's not so well known. And when it's being peddled to audiences who care about that stuff, I feel it's my duty to make sure they know when the people telling them to go there aren't telling them. That's why I had to make that first video. I explained in it. So many people are advertising it, I need to provide an opposing voice. I don't want the only information people can get about this site to come from paid people. As you agree, the advertising was deceptive.
But what he lacks in a premise, he makes up for in sheer conjecture.
Have you ever watched one of my videos? Do you know what I do?
Most of the arguments that Harmless fucking makes fall under a relatively obscure logical fallacy known as argumentum ad baculum. My Latin might not be great there. This is where you shift focus away from the faulty premise by emphasizing instead the negative consequences that would happen if the premise were true.
Blah, 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 blah. Examples. There's a ghost in my house. What are the consequences of not believing it? Hell's there. What's the consequence of not believing it? Then he gets to me.
Watch Harmless Opinions videos. Watch them. Watch them. Go watch them. Go type Harmful Opinions Candid and go watch his fucking Candid videos. And you will see that Harmless is basically saying that if you don't believe in his dystopian conspiracy where Candid is just the tip of the spear that is used to murder freedom of speech, then you will be subject to said dystopian future and you will find your rights trampled on and taken away.
Not quite. I've also said, even if they don't sell their bot somehow, even if they don't sell their corpus, other sites might copy them. And if everyone's saying, oh, it's okay when Candid does it, what can you say about other sites doing it? At face value, what you're saying sounds good, but here's the thing. What I was worried about happened. It happened a few weeks ago. Twitter implemented a similar system to Candid's, and they're looking at expanding their use of AI. Here's an article from the tech portal called Jack Dorsey places his bet on AI to drive growth, says Twitter still has a long way to go. Dorsey said, Twitter is still the best place to get a sense of what's going on in the world, but as we get better and better at applying machine learning and AI to our system, which we really haven't done in the past, it's been very mechanical, it gets easier and easier, and we believe that topics and interests are a big part of that future. To make it easier. You use Twitter, so I know you must have seen how much of a mess it's been, all the hidden replies and things like that. What happens on Candid, basically. This has been a running trend for years. This has been getting worse and worse, regardless of Candid. My concern is that now that tons of people who are meant to be warriors for free speech or whatever, against what you're seeing, the information you see being fucked with, have endorsed something that does that, they've lost their teeth. They've sold their teeth, they've thrown them away. Let's say you put out a polemic, you hammer Twitter, and Twitter has to respond. Oh, you were paid by our competitors. You've received money from them. Don't care that you're not being paid right now. You might still be on a contract with them, somehow. Don't listen to this person. Maybe this doesn't apply to you, TJ, because I'm switching between talking to an audience and talking to you. You get what's up. Like, check this out. Undoomed did a video about Twitter and the systems it has now. He put this up about a week ago. So I thought, oh great, someone who did an ad about Candid is willing to criticize Twitter for using similar systems. So I went to check out his Candid ad again and couldn't find it. I could find people sharing it on Twitter, but if you actually click the link for it, the video seems to be gone. I archived the page as proof that it's gone as of now in case it comes back again and it says it's been made private. Searching the title on his channel doesn't bring it up, but thanks to Encyclopedia Dramatica, I do have an archive proving it was there and it was a sponsored video. Now, I'll say, can't be sure why this has happened, but it looks bad, and that matters in media. It looks bad that someone took money from a social media website and then criticized their competition for essentially doing the exact same thing the thing they endorsed does. And now it's hard to see the evidence that they were paid by one of them. Not a fan of that happening, I have to say. I mean, listen to what he's saying about Twitter.
We aim to only act on accounts when we're confident based on our algorithms that their behavior is abusive. So it's going to be a machine doing the judging. Yeah, that's not Orwellian at all.
Wow. He sounds almost as crazy as me.
Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. So let's just read through their blog.
Okay, maybe a bit crazier. When's the video on Undoomed's conspiracy theory, TJ? Or would that count as breaking solidarity with your fellow professional creators? And by the way, I've actually got a copy of Undoomed's ad. You just heard his opinion of AI moderating on Twitter. What's his opinion on AI moderation when he's being paid?
The moderation is handled by an artificial intelligence, which Candid is improving upon every day. That's the only thing the AI is there for. Is it perfect? No. Few things are in the beginning, and this is the start of this product.
Oh, so that's okay. They're improving it, it's going to get better. Twitter's improving their stuff as well. What's his opinion on that? You know, when he's not being paid.
Since these tools are new, we will sometimes make mistakes. You think? But but know that we are actively working to improve and iterate on them every day. Oh, I'm sure you are, you censorship huggers.
Twitter is saying what he said about Candid to defend it, and he's responding to it, putting it down. It's unbelievable. Seriously, people just stop doing this shit, and I'll stop having to make videos about people doing this shit.
And he has to rely on that tactic. Because if you just view Candid as a shitty app that dubiously claimed to be a free speech platform, then the problem is solved the moment that you delete the app or decide that you just don't give a shit. But if that's all Candid is, then you can't have a big moral crusade, can you?
I'm far smaller and more insignificant than Candid, and yet you're making a video about me. You have to call it a crusade, because to say someone in his bedroom is speaking into a microphone and putting his recordings on the internet, you could just ignore it. The second you ignore me, it goes away. But no, you have to show how much better and smarter you are, and how crazy I am, and how sane you are.
And if there's no moral crusade, then Harmless Exaggerations doesn't get to make video after video after video about the Candid boogeyman that's hiding behind every bush and under every rock, just waiting until your guard is down so it can steal your freedom of speech away.
All right, calm down, dear.
Gonna change gears here for a moment. Gonna change focus. If you do YouTube as your career, the way you make money is simple. Advertising.
Or merchandise. Or direct fan funding.
People write me all the time to tell me things like, TJ, there's a Mormon ad on your latest video. Or something like that. And there's this expectation from them that I should somehow refuse the ad or do something about it.
This is talking about AdSense. AdSense is totally fine. AdSense is a really good system because it means that content creators can put ads on top of their videos without it affecting the content of their videos, and we are blind to what the ads are, which means we can't be influenced by knowing what ads are going to be on our videos. AdSense is fucking great. That is totally different to taking a sponsor. You know how it's good when newspapers separate advertising and editorial, so the people writing their opinions and the people reporting don't have direct contact with advertisers. I view AdSense sort of as my commercial department. And that's brilliant because it allows tons and tons of small people to have ads on their videos without having to invest in an advertising department, because there's an automated system to do it without us having to go directly to advertisers and potentially compromise our editorial integrity.
Well, when I enable ads on a video, I have no ability whatsoever to control what comes up. I have no ability whatsoever to decide who can and can't advertise on my channel.
Yeah, it's really great. Fantastic system. It means that I don't have to worry about fucking myself up the ass by taking sketchy deals from a company like Candid. Because part of what you're getting paid for when you do a sponsorship is the risk of backlash, is the risk of having your name attached to that product, because you're attaching your brand to their brand to give it legitimacy, to give it credibility, and to make people trust it. I wouldn't take that risk. If you want to, go ahead, you'll get more money, but this might happen to you.
And if the Church of the Latter-day Saints wants to waste their money on an ad before my fucking video, I'm honestly totally okay with that. But even if I weren't, I have no control. The second that you as a YouTuber click that monetization button, you've essentially just put a big billboard out in front of your yard that anyone can advertise on regardless of how you perceive them. So you might be a liberal, but you'd have to accept that if you want that billboard money, you might have a big Trump ad in front of your house. You might not like it, you might not agree with it, but it's paying for your mortgage, so you learn to separate it from yourself.
You don't have to. It is separated from you. You don't have a choice to accept that or not. Other people are in control of what the ads are there. It's like having an advertising department. If you're working in a magazine or a newspaper, you do the editorial, AdSense does the ads. And never shall the two meet, right? It's great. Fantastic. I don't know why he's talking about this, because he's basically saying what I say. This is really, really good. It's good to do that.
Any YouTube channel you watch that has ads on their content has made that deal.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the only sort of advertising that exists on YouTube. There's a much more contentious form of advertising wherein the on-screen personality directly shills, sanctions, and endorses a product, like I did with Candid. And these are always more controversial because it's easy to look at the big billboard in your front yard and say, well, that's separate from me. But when someone pays you to go out into your front yard with a bullhorn and yell out a script that they've given you?
No, TJ, you wrote your own script. Candid told me. Candid told everyone. You wrote it yourself. They encourage you to do it in your own words.
We want to have him, describe the app. Use the app, I'm sure we say that. Please use the app, check it out, and describe it in your own words. And a lot of people who are attracted to the free speech aspects of the app, the fact that you can say things like, I'm anti-SJW, or I'm like, this is what I feel about BLM. Those are the people who have said it's a free speech app. It's an amazing atheist, used his poetic justice or poetic license to some extent and used the words free speech.
A straight ad read, reading out ad copy, is sort of a step between the AdSense ads and doing what you do. What you're doing is far more controversial than what you're painting what you're doing as being.
It's harder to look at that and say, that's separate from me. So there's a greater impetus there to be careful about who you sell your bullhorn rights to, or if you should even do that at all. Because if you endorse a product that sucks, that can undermine your credibility. And that's what happened with Candid.
Where does he disagree with me? I haven't pre-watched this. I'm just doing a straight up response as I go along. So, yeah. Thumbs up, mate. I agree.
The things they had me say about their platform weren't true.
Prove they had you say it, because they say they'd let you do it in your own words. They want you to use your own words, as I showed you the CEO saying earlier.
It's not a free speech platform. And why they ever chose to market it that way, I don't know.
They said you did. They said it was your poetic license. Prove they did. This is an unfounded claim, with the company claiming otherwise. Could you provide evidence, please? Not saying you're lying, just have two opposing claims.
And the onus probably was on me to check into them more deeply before I agreed to do the spots.
Yep, of course.
But my belief was, and honestly still is, that people are smart enough to separate advertising from reality. I didn't think it really mattered whether or not I shilled the product because people would decide for themselves anyway.
It's harder to decide when you've been exposed to deceptive advertising, especially coming from someone you trust. People do trust you. It's why you were paid. The company knows people trust you. They want you to tell people stuff that they want people to believe. That's basically why deceptive advertising is bad. Otherwise, what's the problem?
I mean, let's be real here, guys. When I pop on camera for 2 minutes just to say, hey guys, Amazing Atheist here, want to tell you about this great new product, no one's the least bit confused about what's going on.
They are when you say something's a free speech app, and then it's not. They are confused if you say something's a super duper free speech app, and then, as you agree, it's not really.
No one thinks for a second that I just was so overwhelmed with love for a product or service to the point where I just had to make a video about how great it is.
Probably not, but so what?
You know damn well I was paid.
Not necessarily in your first one. There was no explicit disclosure, and you could have been doing that as a favor for a friend, for example. There's no way to know for sure unless you disclose properly. I mean, you've said you know the people behind Candid. What does that mean? Are you friends? You could have done that first ad as a freebie. You're saying now you didn't, but you also didn't disclose it explicitly. You've got to disclose properly.
You know damn well that I'm shilling a product because I was financially compensated to do so.
And you said earlier people shouldn't think objectivity goes out the window when money's involved, didn't you? When you make both of these points at the same time, it clashes a bit.
So you have all of the context that you need to understand what's going on. Nonetheless, if I do these videos in the future, a stipulation will have to be that a disclaimer will appear at the beginning of the video saying that it's a paid advertisement so that no one can possibly have any doubt.
Absolutely fucking perfect. Thumbs up, mate. Yes, please. That's fucking brilliant. Everyone should do that. I consider that an absolute victory. I'm happy to be wrong on all the Candid stuff. That is what I really, really want. That's why I have the people I pay to do ads. Have one of the only conditions be make disclosure super clear. Anyway, this video is dragging on. If you want to see the rest of his video, you can go watch it. It's on his channel. He goes on from here to address the teal deer thing, covers the conversation we had, which I already covered in a video, so you can see my perspective there. There's no point repeating it. And then he goes on to respond to the first video I made on Candid, which I only made to counter so many ads, and wind people up a bit, and was before people started retaliating and stuff got juicy and I uncovered the really good stuff. What a disappointment. Anyway, thank you very much for this advert, TJ. I've sent you $50 for it, and the subscribers and nice comments are already rolling in for me. So, until next time, that's just another one of my harmful opinions.